Hello digital art students, it's Mr. House. Today we're going to take a look at a new project, Illustrator Self-Portrait. So let's take a look here. Here's a big idea. Artists have made self-portraits for thousands of years, and so can you. For example, a really famous one is by Norman Rockwell. If you click on it, it goes bigger, and you can see he's looking in the mirror, and he's drawing himself, notably with glasses removed. So it's a time-honored tradition, and you're going to do it too. So what does it mean to create the way we look at ourselves by creating art? Me, 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 me. You will take a studio photo of yourself from the teacher's computer using photo booth. You get one shot. This photo will be used to build an Illustrator image using shapes and 10 layers. You will create what's called a key line, and shadows, midtones, highlights, showing lighting and shading of your skin. You'll use a complementary color scheme with warm and cool colors to create contrast and emphasis. You will use gradients to blend from one color to another. Here's one that I made, and you can notice that I definitely am using non-local colors. This is art. It does not have to look real. We want to free ourselves from that and just get expressive. So let's take a look at Photoshop. I have brought in the photo that I shot of myself. Oh gosh, that looks horrible. And I do some editing to it. One of the first things I do is, of course, click and drag this background down here and make a copy. Then I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, and I'm going to desaturate, which is Command-Shift-U. Guess what's going to happen? It goes black and white. It desaturates all the color. Then I will use selection tools like maybe magnetic lasso, polygon lasso, magic wand, you name it. I'm going to get rid of this background, and you know how to do that, right? We turn this off, and let's try a little bit of magnetic lasso. I'll start around like so. It knows I want to follow this edge. What I like to do is get a certain way down and then just start clicking around the rest of what I want to get rid of. Go back to where I started. I get the little close symbol, and I can delete that now. Okay, so I'm partway there. Let's take a look at this turkey already cooked in the oven. There, I've cut out the background in the image, and you'll notice I've also adjusted the contrast. Let's see if I can get this one looking kind of like that other one. So I go to brightness contrast, image, brightness contrast, and I'm going to crank up that contrast and crank up that brightness. So what I'm doing is I'm getting more difference between lights and darks to show contrast. It brings out the features in the face, makes them more apparent. That's what it looked like before. Okay, so here it is. I've done it. I've saved the picture. I'm ready to bring it into Illustrator. Let's try. So I have an Illustrator window open. I'm going to go to File, Place, which I find to be a good way to find the photos that I save. Here it is, Self-Port Pick. I bring it in. I might size it a little bit. If I click on this corner and hold the Shift key, it keeps my proportions, right? Drag this, move it into the center. I am ready to go. Okay, I have a layer here. It shows my linked photo. I'm just using this photo as a reference. It's not going to be a part of the finished art. So I double click on it, lock, and dim. That allows me to easily see what I do on top of this image. Okay, I make a new layer. And now I'm going to show you the pencil tool, a way to create black lines with the pencil tool. Double click on the pencil tool, and I want you to choose Fill New Pencil Strokes, Keep Selected, and Edit Selected Paths. Once you have that set, hit OK. And then we're going to come down here and double click on the fill, and choose black. Notice this shows me I've chosen a color. If I move this around, it changes the hue and everything. I want black. Right down here, hit OK. Alright. I do not want a stroke. Notice I clicked on the stroke, it comes forward. I choose none. No stroke necessary. Black fill. Alright, here I go. I'm going to zoom in. So you can use the zoom tool, or you can press Command Spacebar and click and drag, in you go. Alright, let's start working on this ear. I'm going to make this black part of the ear black. So I click and drag and start drawing around like so till I get back to the beginning and it makes a shape. When I'm done with this shape, I hold the Command key, and that is a way to go right to Select Tool, click out here, it deselects, I'm ready to make the next line. Now I'm going to show you a way to make an outline, an expressive outline using the pencil tool that uses line weight. Notice the thickness there, and I come in closer, right back up to where I began, I let go, and it's created a line. Let's keep going. So I'm just looking at these visual clues in the photo and using them to create lines. Watch what I did there. I did a little figure 8. When I'm done and I deselect, it just makes that kind of shape. Now I can hold Command Spacebar and Option, zoom out a little bit. If I hold the spacebar, I get the pan tool, and I can move this into view. Now I can see I've got what I'm going to call my key line started. I'm going to make another line here, and when I'm zoomed out this far, it's hard to be precise. But notice how expressive this line is. It goes thick, it goes thin, it's interesting, it's not just one thickness of line. This is as far from clip art as you can get. We're not making clip art on this, just trying to make a line drawing of what's in black. Now let's try this eye here. Like that. Yeah. Then I could go for this part of the eye. Now notice, if I'm not careful, if I click and drag here, it will add on to my existing shape or change it. And sometimes I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Command Z, undo, hold the Command key, and deselect. Notice that shape is no longer selected. And then I will zoom in, get a little more detailed, and I'm going to do something like this. Make that part. And then I've clicked far enough away from that selected item that it's not going to affect it. There, I've made a new part. Now I'm going to come down to the lower part of the eyelid, and I want you to think about making exaggerated features, right? Don't get too picky on this or try to be too realistic. I'm going to make a big shadow with one of my old man wrinkles. Come up like so, back to where I began. Command, click, deselect. Let's move to another one. How about make some really cool looking eyebrows? I'm going to do some zigzags over here and back to where I began. There, I have an eyebrow. Maybe I'll make this shadow up here, around like so, back down, over, shows the top of my eyelid. There we go. Now any one of these things I can modify. Let's say this pupil is looking too weird. I want to click one of these points, select it, and move it down here. I'll click another one, move it here. Maybe I'll click on this line and get it more rounded. Maybe I will hit the plus key and add a point. A key takes me back to direct select. And maybe that's a better looking pupil right now. I'm going to zoom out. Command Spacebar Option. I start zooming out and wow, I am getting facial features. Now they might be kind of crazy. I want to go for it. I'm not being too judgmental. I'm going to get out of this idea that something has to look perfect and real. Art can be whatever we want it to be as long as we're having a good time expressing it and making decisions based on what we want to see. There's another pupil. So, of course, I've got a turkey in the oven. So let's take a look at it. Alright, I'm going to click over here. And here is the photo that I started with. Let's take a look at the layers. Now, I've got a bunch of layers, 17 of them. Let's turn them on. Let's see here. I did a layer for my shirt, a layer for my face, a layer there. What else have we got? We've got lips, face shadow, eyes, hair. We've even got face highlights. It's not really looking like a face yet. Remember those black lines I just did? Where are those? Let's see how important those are. The key line. There it is. So important. And I made a lot of choices here. I went back and changed things. I added in thin lines. I did my hair this way, just a hint of what the hair is. And then filled in the colors on different layers. Notice my hair layer is right here. It is underneath the key line. Now, if I take this key line and move it down to the bottom, it all goes away. So the key line has to be on the very top because it is the lines, the rest are the fills, the colors that we want to use. Okay? So let's go back to the one we're building. And let's say I want to create the color of the eyes. Well, I created a new layer, dragged it under my key line, and we are going to call this eyes. Right now it's just going to be one eye because that's all I have drawn. I go to my pencil tool and I pick an eye color. Maybe it's this. And I am going to zoom in, and I need to be kind of careful, but watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw around like here, and you'll notice I'm drawing in the black. Yeah, and then around here. And when I let go, it turns blue, but because it's underneath my key line, the key line covers it up, right? So I didn't have to be so careful about the way I drew in that color. Let's try making a big one for the face. Alright, let's call this face midtones. Alright, I am going to zoom out. Command spacebar, option, click, 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 click. Now I haven't done all my key lines yet, but I know my face, the midtone, is going to be all through here. And I've started with the blue already. The opposite of blue is orange. You're using complementary colors. Okay, take a look at your color wheel collage and it will tell you. Now I have this orange. I'm going to make it a little lighter. Maybe something like that. I have the color selected now. I'm on the pencil tool. Here we go. I'm going to draw this entire area around here. I'll go around the hair like so. And I'm being kind of careful, but not really. But getting this all in one shot. I go back to where I began, and there it is. I have the face. Now if it's hard to see things right now, yet I still want to see the color, I can select this with the selection tool and come up to opacity and reduce it so that I can still see some of the features. At any time I can bring this back up to 100%, which is what you'll do for your final art, because your final art is what you have without the picture, right? The picture is just there to help you get started. So as you can imagine, I did lines on my key line all through here, right? And some of these really big areas, notice how they're not darker? Well, if I select them, I reduce the opacity. And one of the interesting things that happens is when I turn on the face, watch how that color changes. All of a sudden it turns green because I am just taking a semi-transparent color and putting it on top of a kind of green-yellow color. So it's going to change this gray into something more like a tint. Okay? So that's another interesting thing about this. The same goes with these highlights. These colors are actually a purple because my color scheme is yellow and purple. Those are opposite colors, complementary. You can see it here, but because I've taken the opacity down, it just looks more like a dirty yellow, a gray. And that's what happens when you mix colors from the opposite side of the color wheel. They neutralize each other and can become a gray. If I clicked on this and changed the opacity back to 100%, it would look totally different. So opacity is very powerful, very important in this project. Alright, now let's start turning on all the layers because I did more things. Oh, we have some highlights there. There are the lips. I did a gradient version of my lips. Duplicated that layer. Here come the eyes. Here come gradient eyes. Notice coming out from the center. The hair, also did hair with a gradient. I think that's all the layers. Then I decided to do a background. And there it is. Notice that this whole background, these shapes, the only thing that's going to show up in my final artwork is in this bounding box. So you can make large shapes that just come into view and will never be seen when you finally save the work as it would be seen on a website like here. So there is your Illustrator self-portrait. Remember, if you go to the color wheel collage, you might be, I don't even have a color wheel on this. I will find an image for you to use so that you know that you're using complementary colors. Let's go back to Illustrator self-portrait. There we go. This is the place to start. Thanks for learning.